Hey everybody, Zach again, newtotorah.com. Wanted to come in and do a video. You know, I often get questions from people who are critical of religion in general, critical of the Torah or Christianity, and they throw things out. And I know people who are both Christians and people who are both Torah observant followers of our Master Yeshua. They get questions like, "Oh, well, you want to go back to slavery, you know, if you believe in that Torah." And you get that from Christians and atheists out there in the world today. Because they see the Old Testament God that we read in our Bibles as being a slave driver, someone who believes and condones slavery. And so I was on Facebook the other day. I'm on social media quite a bit because I answer emails that way sometimes, and I just see I post things from New to Torah on social media like Twitter and YouTube. And somebody took a jab at religion in general by saying that we got rid of slavery not because of religion, but in spite of it. I think that's what he said. Let me go see. Actually, here, I'll read it right here. It was in spite of religion that we mostly got rid of slavery, not because of it. And what he was doing there was just taking a jab at religion in general, people who believe in the Bible. And I know me and him have gone head to head on creation topics in the past. I've even invited him to come on my channel. I even did a video about geology. If you look up my past videos about how I created a rock or something like that, I mentioned him. And I've been continually inviting him to come on my channel to debate things like this about religion. And so this is a common accusation thrown out there by people who follow Torah that, we condone slavery somehow. Both from Christians and from atheists. We'll throw this barb out there at us. And I want to address this topic. I've addressed the topic before, I think on my website as a blog, but I want to do a video on it. I've never done a video, I don't think, on it. And so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about slavery. Does the Bible condone slavery? And the number one verse they go to is this one right here. We're going to read this verse. It comes from the book of Leviticus, and it's Leviticus 25:44. And let's begin reading here. "Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession." And then the next verse, 46. "And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor." Okay, and so this is the verse right here that they give for condoning slavery. That the God of the Bible, he condones slavery because you're allowed to take slaves from people that are round about you, the heathens that are round about you, or the strangers that are round about you. You're allowed to take them for slaves. Understand this. When we think of slavery here in America, we think of, let's just be honest, the Roots. That's what we think, the movie Roots. That's what we think. People chained to slave ships being brought over from Africa. And that's what we think of slavery. This is not, however, because you know what? If that's the kind of slavery that you think the God of the Bible is condoning, he's contradicting a number of other verses about slavery in your Bible. Let's take a look at this verse right here. It's the verse Exodus 21:16. "And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death." And there are other verses like this in the book of Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy 24. That talk about, hey, listen, if you buy and sell somebody, if you steal a man or a woman and you buy and sell them, you're guilty of death. Your punishment is death. That's really what it comes down to. But see, how do we answer? We need to learn how to answer this accusation from Christians and atheists who say that the God of the Old Testament or the God of the Bible condones slavery, because he doesn't. What you're seeing here in the book of Leviticus, chapter 25, is someone who has sold themselves into slavery. This was a common practice even today in some countries, and even and definitely recorded historically in the past. This is a common practice for someone who finds himself in debt up to a point where they're about to lose all of their inheritance and even their family, their children. Because a lot of times when you were in debt and you couldn't pay the person you owed the debt to, what you gave up, if you had them, were your children. Because that person would take them and enslave them. And in a way, for you to keep your family intact was to sell yourself into slavery to that person if they would take you. Or someone else. You would go to someone and say, I have a large debt. I owe this man over here a large debt. And I would like, if you would pay this debt for me, I would then serve you. the rest of my life. Because if you pay that debt for me that I owe that person over there, I'm going to be able to keep my family intact. I'm going to be able to keep my children with me instead of having to send them away or give them up. Because they're going to collect their debt one way or the other. It could be even my life if I don't pay that debt. And so if you would pay this debt for me, I would be grateful for you. Great enough to serve you the rest of my life, and even my family's life would serve you for the rest of our lives. And how do I know this is true? How do I know this is proper interpretation, exegesis of the scriptures? Because in the very next verse, in verse 47 of Leviticus 25, the shoe is put on the other foot. And Jamin, I'm talking to you and others out there who have addressed this topic. The shoe is put on the other foot because we see the exact same thing. Take a look at the very next verse, chapter 25, verse 47. And if a sojourner or a stranger wax rich by thee, this is someone who's a heathen, someone who's not a Hebrew, someone who's not an Israelite. If a sojourner or stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwelleth by him wax poor, and sells himself into the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him. It's the shoe on the other foot, because it was a common practice that if you owed a debt and there was no other way to pay that debt, you could sell yourself into slavery. What they called slavery. It's basically servitude, bondsman. You were a bondman or a bondmaid. You had swore an oath to serve that person the rest of their life because of something they did for you, because of a price that they paid for you. It has actually messianic implications, does it not? So think of it this way. You're in debt up to your eyeballs, and the piper's about to be paid, and you're trying to figure out a way to save your life or to save the life of your family, and you go to someone who has money, who can pay that debt for you, and that because that debt has now been paid, you have now put yourself in a place to serve that person the rest of your life. It's very simple. It's really it's a picture of our Messiah, because of the debt he paid for us, we can now serve him the rest of our lives the way he tells us to, following the instructions that he gives for his servants in his house. And so I can go down a whole other road with that. But that's what's being said here, folks. This is what it's not. You know what? Yeah. If you want to say it that way, the Bible condones slavery. Okay, we can say that, but the Bible does not condone slave traders. In fact, it puts them to death. The Bible, the God, the creator of our universe, who loves his creation, which he states over and over again, that he loves his creation, does not condone slavery, does not condone slave traders, people who would steal another person and sell them for profit. That is against everything the Creator has spoken of, and to think that it contradicts a whole vast array of scriptures. And so I want to go over this, even in Deuteronomy 24:14. Deuteronomy 24:14, we see this verse. Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of the strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. So folks, people will say the God of the Bible, he condones slavery of the heathens, of the people around about you. You're allowed to take slaves. Well, you know what? Even the Bible verses in the Torah where it talks about people who are conquered by the children of Israel. Those who the children of Israel conquered, there were specific rules on what to do with the people you took as captives, how you were to treat them. It would be probably a greater blessing for most people to be conquered by the nation of Israel, because there were distinct rules for how they were to be treated. And I guarantee you they were a lot better than the rules probably most of those countries from where those people came. Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. And if you pay the debt of someone and he now serve you for the rest of your life, that's a hired servant. No, any way you look at it, because you've paid a price for that person. It's a hired servant. And you are to treat them with respect, dignity. You're to feed them. You're to clothe them. And in some cases, even provide them a wife. If they're, or to give them a wife to your son. And you're not going to treat someone bad who you're trying to provide a wife for, taking a wife for your son, your own family, your own flesh and blood. It would be one of the greatest things in the world if you were to be conquered by the Hebrews, because the Hebrews had distinct rules on how they're to treat the conquered. The people of Babylonia didn't have those rules. People of Persia didn't have. All the other ancient cultures of history were brutal in their conquest. But here, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob gives distinct rules on how you are to treat both the people who are your flesh and blood and those who sojourn with you. That we are to love thy neighbor. You look, Leviticus 19:34. Let's take a look at Leviticus 19:34 and see what it says. But the stranger that dwelleth with you, the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself. For ye also were strangers in the land of Egypt. That means slaves, folks. You were slaves in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. See, we have very distinct rules from our Creator on how we are to deal with the stranger. We are to love the stranger as thyself, because we too were strangers in a strange land at one point. We were slaves ourselves in a land at one point. And so the Father is giving very clear instructions on how to deal with people. And folks, these are not people who've been bought and sold by slave traders. The Father has rules on how to deal with slave traders, and that's to put them to death. However, you are allowed to sell yourself into slavery. The Bible gives clear instructions. If you do so, there is a way you are to be treated. And it is not the way the heathens treat their slaves. There is a distinction there. And so people take constantly, people like my friend Jamin, God love him, and others out there, even in Christianity, take these verses of the Old Testament and take them completely out of context. And they think of Roots, the movie Roots, and the slavery that happened here in this nation hundreds of years ago, that when people were brought over in slave ships, and they equate that with the same thing. It's not. It's not. We're reading it wrong. Okay, we're reading it wrong. All right, I just wanted to do that video because I know people often ask questions. This is a topic that people often come into a subject that people are often thrown at people when they come into the Hebrew roots, or when they come into the commandments, the Torah of our Father that He's given His people to follow forever throughout their generations. And this is something that needs to be addressed so people can develop an apologetics and develop an answer for everyone to ask us the reason of the hope that's in us. So you got to have answers, folks. You got to have answers for the questions that people give you. Develop an apologetics, develop an understanding of what the Bible is talking about here. And it's to read things in context and to understand them in the context of the people of that day. What did they do? And if you see things that contradict other verses in Scripture, there's not a contradiction there. There's a misunderstanding on our part, and we need to do our best to be able to understand those things that the Father is trying to tell us. The Father does not condone slave traders. He does not condone people buying and selling other human beings. That's not how He wants His creation to treat each other. That's not with love. It's not with respect. And so we need to concentrate on that, to love our neighbor, both our blood and those who dwell among us, because we were once strangers in a strange land ourselves. And we're, again, today, strangers in a strange land, waiting for the Messiah to gather us back and bring us home. All right, we'll leave it at that. Go home, read your Bible. Thanks.